Vivek, hi, good to have you with us. How have you been?
Hey, hi. I've been good, Ashu. What about you?
Doing very well, Vivek. Good to have you with us. This is an important conversation and a very, very pertinent question, conversation, right? Especially what we've been through in the last 2.5 years, right? I think,
Yeah.
while of course I'm looking to, talk about, how, for example, the density has gone through the roof, the consumption trends, right? Are kind of they've shifted all of that, right? But I think more importantly, talking about business continuity, right? And in general, connectivity as a whole, having a very, very different meaning to itself, right? We're going to talk about many, many more consumer side nuances, right? In terms of how all of this shift is kind of changing, evolving, and for a player like yourself, right, which is been into connectivity, how is your role, for example, evolving from just being a connectivity provider into doing many, many more things, right? Empowering the customers, how kind of look at it.
Yeah.
And I think, through the course of the conversation, we're going to cover all of that. But before we do that, Vivek, I'd love you to give us a quick round of a background, to all the good work that you've done. You've been a professional in the telecom space for the longest time. You've seen it evolve, right? I'd love to start this
Yeah.
conversation from there, and we kind of then talk about, all the amazing work that you're doing, in the current times.
Yeah. Hi. So good to be here with you and having this conversation. And yeah, you're right. I started my career in this industry, in wireline broadband specifically.
Right.
My first job after MBA was with Hathway Cable and Datacom into their
Right.
broadband division. So I'm talking about 2001, mind you. I mean, 2001 was time when we were still on dial-up.
Right.
People generally didn't understand what wireline broadband is all about.
Right.
And probably Hathway was the first company to start wireline broadband in the country. It was through a technology called DOCSIS, Data over
Right.
Cable System Interface Specification, in which they were using cable TV coaxial wires to deliver broadband into the households.
Right.
So this was first such experiment in the country, and I was part of it. That was my first job, so into sales. And ever since that day, 2001 to now 2022, I have been doing that only, selling broadband, selling wireline broadband, trying to roll out wireline broadband in various companies, various roles, various positions, various geographies. But that's all I have been doing till now. Yeah. So from Hathway, I moved on to Reliance Infocom, which
Right.
as it was called then, and it was a project called Netway, wherein we were supposed to usher in IPTV into the country.
Sure.
And so we sort of moved in that organization for around 2.5 years. Then it became communication, Reliance Communication, and the project was shelved, and we were shifted to the broadband, general broadband, not IPTV
Right.
division. Yeah, and the whole perspective changed after Infocom became communication, and the split occurred in the Reliance group.
Sure.
And so I moved from Reliance Communication back to Hathway, but this time around as the regional head for North India. Uh, from there, I went to Broadband PaceNet, another ISP in the country, part of DG Cable Group, and was again regional head for North and Central India.
Right.
And it's then when I conceived that, okay, probably now this is the time to start something on my own. And I'll tell you what's the background. Why did I start? Why did I start something like that?
Mhm.
I don't know whether you know or not, or our listeners know or not. The fact is that India has just 2 crore wireline broadband connections.
Right.
You understand? Population of 140 crore, 130 crore, and
Right.
we have just 2 crore wireline broadband lines connected
Right.
to the homes. Yeah, which means our per capita penetration is worse than Bangladesh, it's worse
Right.
than Nepal. Forget Malaysia and forget Indonesia,
Sure.
and let's not talk about Europe. They are in high 70s or high 80s. Yeah.
Mhm.
But somehow this doesn't get recognized. This doesn't get often talked about. This doesn't get highlighted, and neither from the policymakers nor from the media, because guess what? Mobile is the big thing, and everybody is talking about spectrum and 2G, 3G, 4G.
Mhm.
And actually, we have done a significant job there. We have done a remarkable job, actually,
Sure.
to give mobile handset in the hand of 60 crore Indians,
Right.
60, 70 crore Indians. It's a phenomenal achievement.
Sure.
But while this is a phenomenal achievement, wireline sort of has taken a backseat. It never
Right.
sort of took off in the country.
Mhm.
And this problem was something that we were grappling in every company that I was working in.
Sure.
Whether it was Hathway, whether it was DG Cable, whether it was communication. Somehow, because I was specifically, into wireline communication, and we
Right.
knew the advantages of wireline communication for a household compared to
Sure.
mobile broadband. So yeah. So it's when I was working in Digi Cable that I met my co-founders who are from Bulgaria. Now Bulgaria is Eastern Europe, and now they're not fully Europeans in that sense because it's Eastern part of Europe, and they're not Asians also. So they're somewhere in between, you can say. And also the fact that they were under the Iron Curtain, they were part of the Russian sort of bloc till 1990. There were no private companies at all. There was just one government company, like we had BSNL. They had Bulgarian Telecom, Bataka they called it. Yeah, it was like our BSNL, probably worse than our BSNL. Much worse than BSNL. So, but in 1990, their economy opened up. They started doing business, and my co-founder started a broadband company. And this company, with the help of this company and many such other companies, they achieved around 80-85% penetration of wireline broadband in the country in 1 decade.
Wow.
From 1990 to 2000. And so yeah, after they sold their company there to Deutsche Telekom, and they came to India, scouting for opportunities, looking at markets. And that's how we met. And we exchanged notes. I was also grappling with this problem that the growth is not the way we want it to be, and the penetration is not taking off. And then we exchanged notes, and we understood why it is that it has not taken. What are the reasons? What are the factors which are challenging in the country? And there are many. Whenever if we have time, we can talk about those also. Why penetration has not been the way it should have been. And therefore, their learnings we used, my experience we used, and we created Excitel.
Yeah, that's an interesting start, Vivek. That's an interesting start, right? Yeah. And I mean, I would have possibly asked you this question somewhere later in the conversation, right? But I think I'd actually going to ask you this one, right? I mean, what are the challenges? I think for a market like India, when I look at all of our demographics, right? I mean, honestly speaking, there is no other market one which is as large as India is, right? We're as a lot of people put it out, right? And I love to sort of say this out in my conversation. We're actually the last billion people market, right? Which makes it very, very exciting in India. And I think the kind of age that we have, the demographic dividend that we kind of classically again talk of, right, is huge. What have been the challenges of the slow growth of sorts? Would love you to talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So two things you said. One, that we're the last billion to be connected. All other billions, wherever they are connected. We're the last billion to be connected. Secondly, as you rightly said, the demography of our country, the age group, the age profile of the country. And thirdly, which is very important, is that we're English speaking. We read English, we understand English, and internet is mostly English. Yeah. So it should have happened till now. So the challenges are many. Let's start with one. What had happened probably before Excitel was that average speed in the country was around 512 kbps. At the most, you will get 1 Mbps. I'm talking about 2014 when Excitel started getting conceived in our minds. Now in 512 kbps and 2 or 1 Mbps, what can you actually do within that internet? You can use it for productivity. You can write mails, attachments which will slowly open up, or you can surf the web, get more knowledge. So basically, it was a productivity enhancement tool. Now, if you're telling Asian people or Eastern people that we are giving you a great productivity enhancement tool which will help you work at your home, it's a very, very poor prospect. We're telling them it will help your work if you put at home. Yeah, it's not going to work. So unless and until this can be transformed into a communication as well as primary driver of entertainment in a household, it's not going to take off. This was clear thought. This is the thought that Bulgarians also had in their mind. Is it you're using it for productivity? Nobody in Bulgaria buys it for productivity at home. They do work in the office. Then they want to relax and entertain themselves at home. Yeah. But with these speeds, you'll never get entertainment. So your problem is multifold. That you're not teaching them what to do with internet. You're not telling them this is the future for entertainment. And now we see these OTTs and so many things coming in. Entertainment in our households is through wireline broadband, is through internet, not cable TV. Yeah. So exactly this is the thought. This was the idea that this is a replacement of cable TV. Cable TV in 5-10 years would be what black and white TV, monochrome TV was. Yeah, it's going that way, and you have to realize and catch the train and catch the thought right now. And exactly in 2014, when the average speeds were 512 kbps or 1 mbps, we started with 20 mbps.
Right.
20. Yeah, that was a starting package because we wanted them to see videos. We wanted them to see videos in HD, 4K, actually experience what 4K is all about.
Right.
Yeah, and then that's the one. That was one problem, which thankfully we have sort of now overcome. Excitel now is giving basic pack speed of 200 Mbps. That's the basic package, and others have to follow, and they are following. I mean, 100 Mbps is the norm now, more or less. So that's the one thing. The other thing which is very, very typical of India and needed a business model level sort of a flip is the way urban India is structured.
Right.
What do I mean by that? Take any city, most of the cities rather, 25 to 30% of those cities are fully planned, properly designed. There are lanes and there are by lanes. There are back lanes, utility lanes, or there are multi-story buildings with shafts. So any telecom who wants to deploy network can do it very easily, can go to the back lane, dig there, pull the fiber to each and every house, put a box, go to the next house, everything is safe. Yeah. Or if it's a multi-story building, then again, go to the shaft underground and then pull the wire up to the whatever floor it is and you're on. But that's 25%. That's where 25% of people live. 30% of people live. 70% of people don't live in such areas in urban India. They live in areas, if you're in Delhi, they live in Shadra, they live in Uttamnagar. They live in such areas which are dense, which are clustered, Jafrabad, Usmanpur, such areas. What about them? So are you only serving with these 30% or 100%? Yeah. So this was another challenge which traditional telcos couldn't sort of overcome. And that's why there's another factor why wireline broadband was not sort of taking off, simply because it was given to 30%. They were always focusing. I mean, when I was also working in telcos, the first thing you would do is to check the ARPU levels of the city, which area has which ARPU level, and then you go there and just do the A, B, C, D categorization. You go to A. I'll take A first, then I'll go to B, then I'll think about C. I'll never go to D. That was the idea, because it was very practically difficult to do it. How do you dig those serpentine lanes of old Delhi? There's no way. Yeah. So that was second. And the third thing, and the most important, among the most important thing, as others also important, is the fact that you needed a laptop or a desktop to consume internet till around 5, 7, 8 years or 10 years back. Yeah. So whenever we wanted to go to a new area, we were told to do a PC penetration survey and see how many PCs are in the homes of these people. That's where they would consume internet. But that's also gone now. That's also over. It's all mobile. Your handheld device, your handheld device is your medium to sort of consume internet. So these 3-4 factors are the ones which were sort of holding it back. Now, in the first case, now it's entertainment which is leading the charge in entertainment. Everybody wants to be entertained through internet. And if it is entertainment, then there is no demographic dividend here. There is no profiling you need to do, because everybody wants to get entertained, whether they're living in a posh villa of, let's say, Pali Hills, or they're living in a slum of Jafrabad.
And consuming the same content.
Consuming the same content and paying for 500 rupees, everybody's paying the same. So So that's what it is. And also now on the same devices, more or less, on handheld devices they're consuming. The days of having a common television, in the drawing room and everybody, sort of taking turns to watch their channel are over. It's about personalized entertainment, and also broadcaster deciding what you want to see. Those days also over. You want to see when you want to see. It's up to you now. It's not up to It's not up to broadcaster. So all these changes, all these factors were holding it back, but all these are now changing. And and now you see the numbers have started growing.
Super interesting. Vivek, I think you in a way, my next question, right? You answered that next question in a certain common way, right? What I'd love to revisit 2020, right? Because that's been a very, very defining moment. I mean, I of course want to talk of a lot of challenges with that. So I completely understand where you're coming from, right? We're actually becoming, and not just us, I think globally, right? People in general are entertainment first, right? And so I'm going to talk about that, right? Because there's a lot of bundling up now, which is actually happening, right? And then there are players, the larger players, for example, that are out there, right? They are offering a lot more piggybacking on their, say, existing relationships that they have, right? Which makes it very, very competitive environment for you. But I'm gonna, before I sort of we talk of all of that, right? I'd love to talk to you about 2020. I'd love to revisit that, right? Because all of a sudden there was a moment where nothing was functional, right? Possibly an ideal field day for anybody in the connectivity business, right? They possibly wouldn't have seen a surge. Of course, there was a lot of personal pain and agony that all of us in a way went through. But I think connectivity became the filler, right? Of all of these dichotomies or crevices that all of a sudden, became very visible, right, in the long and in the process, right? I'd love you to give us a sense of all of that, right? How was that period, and and what are some of those bits and pieces that you think are going to carry from here? Because the customer's mindset and the experience and the expectation that they have is certain, is set in a certain common way. Would love you to give me a view on all of those aspects.
Yeah, sure. So it's really interesting. See, while you rightly put it, while it was a time of agony and pain and fear for all of us, at the same time, wireline broadband specifically underwent a transformation, complete transformation. Transformation in the sense, public at large viewed it as a service.
Sure.
What do I mean by that? Before COVID, before the lockdown, I say it that all sales that we were doing were concept sales.
Right.
What does it mean? We had to make as individual, a layman, understand why wireline? How is it different than mobile? How is it going to fulfill their needs? Why not? Why wouldn't he? Why shouldn't he stay with sort of mobile?
Sure.
How is it better? So on and so forth. These are questions you have to answer,
Right.
and it was a concept sale you had to do.
Sure.
But as soon as lockdown happened and people started working from home, people started studying from home, children started studying from home, and they had a lot of time, and therefore a lot of OTT content started getting, sort of consumed. They understood this is not for mobile. Mobile is not going to function. Mobile is on the go needs, for
Right.
on the go needs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at the most social media or whatever.
Right.
But when you have serious consumption to do, like work from home or studies from home or OTT consumption, you need wireline.
Mm-hmm.
So this was sort of taught by COVID. This was taught by lockdown, and complete transformation happened in the view the people have about wireline. So it's from being a niche luxury product, it became one of the basic utilities of a household.
Right.
You have electricity, you have gas, you have water, and you have wireline broadband. If you don't have wireline broadband, something is missing. Yeah. So that transformation happened only because of lockdown and the fact that people sort of we went inside the homes and started working from homes. Right. So yeah, it was a big contribution of this lockdown for sort of doing this concept sale. And also amount of data that got consumed was at least four times in pre-COVID days. But again, obviously because of a lot of time at hand, a lot of consumption of video, and also a lot of live interactions they were doing with various people in the various part of the world. So yeah, these have been transformational years. 2020, starting 2020, and it has. I mean, we, for example, entered COVID with around 3.5. I think 3 lakh users, went out with 6 lakh users.
Wow.
We doubled in these 2.5 or 3 waves of COVID, if those are the parameters.
Right.
So yeah. So it has been transformational in many ways.
Very interesting. Vivek, do you think we've from being an economy that we've been, right, extremely heterogeneous, right? Cultural aspects playing too heavy, right, in our decision-making process and all that, right? Do you think it's been a very inconsistent relationship, right? Last 2 years, predominantly because of technology, right, and that enablement and that consistency, where we could consume so much more content, right? Just so much exposure, right, irrespective of where the content was coming from, we were consuming it right left and center, right? It's actually become a buyer's market in many ways, right? Do you think these are trends that are here to stay? Do you think we have become an information-first economy, right? Which also means that your relationship with your customers is going to be far more sticky, and of course, their expectations are going to be just so much more higher, right? Because there's transparency, and they can seek, responsiveness, right? Much faster, or at least the expectations are going to move in that direction, right? What's your sense of some of these nuances that have become very pertinent and we've seen in the last 2.5 years?
So two things, Ashu. One, I would say the market for wireline broadband, or the need for data consumption, need for access to information, need for access to content has opened up in the sense that it's not now a particular section of society. It's not those 30% of people living in structured areas. It's now everywhere. It's coming from everywhere. People living in all parts of the city, irrespective of the economic strata. The children now want to have access to information which is symmetrical. I mean, everybody wants similar information. Everybody wants to, consume similar content. As you rightly said also. Yeah. So that is a great leveler in itself. I mean, you understand all sections of society, people in all parts of the city, children getting exposed to same type of knowledge, having access to same type of content, which never happened in our lives or generations. It's never happened in human society before. I mean, rich had access to certain type of information and certain type of education, and poor obviously had certain other, in most cases nothing. Now suddenly it is opened up. It's a great leveler in that sense. And Excitel specifically, the business model of Excitel and the focus of Excitel has been 70% of urban India, which has always been neglected or not been, served by traditional telcos. We have been always focusing on that, and that's where we excel. This 70%. High speed wireline broadband, fiber to home, that is the latest technology, with 500 rupees, 200 Mbps speed. It opens up completely new perspectives and vistas for such people in such areas. And then the great leveling has taken place. It is taking place. Some of us who have not realized it happening, but very soon will see it. That people from all sections of society, all parts of city will start, emerging. You will have content providers, you will have content creators, you will have so many of those bloggers, or coming from all sections of society, all parts of society. So this is one major change that I see happening. And mostly post-COVID, because now all areas have opened up for consumption of such content.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so that's one aspect, which is the most interesting aspect for me personally. And then secondly, yes, what we do with that content, the relationship between the content provider and the consumer, that's also transformed continuously. Now it's about enablement, enabling businesses, enabling work, enabling creativity, enabling arts. You're an enabler now. And that's a very serious responsibility. As long as you're just entertainment, provider, that's one set of people. But then when you become an enabler, then the responsibility is multifold increased. So you're enabling all sections of society to do stuff through internet. One thing that happened through COVID. Sorry.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, one thing that happened through COVID was that one, obviously they had a lot of time to consume entertainment. At the same time, they had time to think about new ideas, about new businesses, new startups, new ways of generating income, and new ways of finding needs of customers through sitting at home through internet. So that transformation also happened through lockdown and COVID, because people had time to think about new ideas that can be executed through internet. And now you see blossoming of those ideas. Now you see them coming to fruition. And again, these ideas and this blossoming is happening across the cities, across demographies, across income groups. So there's no limitation, because it's just 500 rupee ticket size that you need to have a real broadband connection.
That's a very interesting and an important point that you highlighted, right? Actually, a couple of them, right? I think completely agree and understand. When you say that your role, one, of course, technology has been a great leveler, right? I think we continue to talk about it ever since, right? Ever since this kind of adoption sort of started to happen. But I think last 2 years have been very transformational, right? In that sense. And I think I like how you kind of accept your role of that being an enabler, right? Being an evangelist, being an empower. Empowerment, for example, becomes a key priority, of course, right? And I think this is something which is, the industry, the telecom industry, right? Everybody in the connectivity space, right? It's kind of realized this space. I think everybody's studying the markets in their own ways. prioritizing their customer set, right? But I think I like that bit. And I think the third point, Vivek, that you highlighted, that a lot of smaller enterprises are going to now come out of homes, right? And that's absolutely phenomenal, right? And that all of this put together just becomes just so much more critical, right? And brings in that stickiness that we're kind of talking about, right? In the process, right? Now, Vivek, a very important point that you want to highlight, right? Now, India, we've continued to talk about the lowest rates of, for example, data, right, in the country. Now, anybody who's on the other side of the table is not the nicest conversation, right? But such is the market, right? We continue to enjoy. We've in a way been cultivated as a market which enjoys everything free, right? And that transition is not necessarily very easy. It's very, very difficult. In a market which is where you have the larger boys in the game, right? You have your all of your market players, right? The Airtels and Tata's in the business side of it, right? The Tata Indicom, TTBS, that they have. You have Jio, which is there, right? And now a couple of other also players are coming in, right? It's an extremely competitive space, right? Now these guys are bundling it up with a variety of other things, right? So for example, mobility becomes a primary thing, right? And they're kind of layering it up with broadband with a variety of offers, right? In a way that, like I said, right, that people use it for content, people use it for entertainment, right? In a way they're kind of also packaging such hooks, right? Freebies in the process, right? Making it very, very salivating, very, very exciting as an option. What kind of a space does it leave for a player like yourself, right? Which is extremely focused, very, very specialized, possibly not marketing as much. How competitive is customer acquisition environment like this full of content?
I think, as I said before also, we are focused on the segment that we are serving.
Sure.
We are serving the 70% of urban Bharat.
Right.
And this is a segment which has always been neglected and has not been provided with the world-class services. For the first time, they're getting the real world-class fiber-to-home service through Excitel.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing that you need to keep in mind with this class or with these areas is that you have to maintain ARPU, and our ARPU is 500 rupees.
Right.
Again, if we don't lose money on a customer, but we don't make much money also on the customer, because we understand that it's 70% of urban India,
right,
which has to be served. So economies of scale will take care of earning.
Right.
At the same time, you have to provide. We realize this, that you have to provide world-class service, disruption-free service as much as possible, for it to be sticky with people, so that they realize the use of it, and they can do something creative with it, and it becomes part of their lives. So I think this is the game. Price it around cable TV, which every household in the country has, which every urban household in the country has, around cable TV, as a replacement of cable TV, primarily if you are looking for entertainment, and at the same time as the enabling tool for all children or adults in the household who want to use the creativity. So I think we don't do anything else. We don't have enterprise, corporate, nothing. We don't even try to go to other 30% part of the cities, which are being served by everybody else, actually. All telcos together are competing there, let them. We want to focus on this 70%, and that's our market, and that's where the use and the need of this product is the most, because it's not being served. We are now competing there with no-name ISPs, those local cable operators doing something on their own, and without any customer experience, without any customer service. So that is being replaced by, or the mobile data is being replaced by, now for the first time, fiber to home service provided by Excitel at around 500 rupees of rate. So I think we're dead focused on this group around the country, this segment, which is majority of urban Indians.
Interesting.
And we want to serve these. As far as bundling is concerned, we also bundle, but obviously we don't, we don't have pockets to, sort of give it for free. But we don't want to earn anything from that also. Whatever deals we get from the content providers, we pass it on to, or aggregators, we pass it on to customers. If they want to sort of take it through, they can. Otherwise, it's already free on their mobile phones coming from these telcos, so they can use it there.
Interesting. Vivek, tell me this, right? And I've continue to question in my mind. Not just in this conversation, I think many other conversations, right? Now, typically when you are and more reflective, right? I'd love to sort of understand. when you're building a relationship, right? So when on one side you have these, behemoths, right, who are going out and the sub dollar advertising is going out. You consistently try to sort of emphasize on the kind of quality and all of that you build and bring, right? In a way, they're kind of creating a positioning for themselves in the mind of the people, right? And then on the other side, you have Excitel, like a player, right? Like yourself, which is very, very clear positioning, right? Very clear in terms of, for example, the pricing, right? And I think a pricing-driven relationship is essentially what you're trying to establish, that may value for money. Now, tell me this, right? For an Indian consumer, which is just so much more value conscious, right? Are these relationships dependent? If assuming there is another player who comes into the game, chooses to sort of, bring down the rates, say matching to yours, maybe lower than that, right? Do you think it's the relationship that you've created has strong enough moats for it to stay on? And while I understand that you're saying that there are a lot of these hyper-local problems, right? For example, density, understanding, evaluation, cabling, wiring, all of that, right? I mean, there are third parties who are doing that, and there are arrangements. I'm sure you know of all of that, right? So even for example, large telco, it's not necessarily a pain that they have to face. It's more a marketing ploy and basically a strategy, right? Of sorts. What's your sense of that, right? Does this put you in a tricky position? What are you doing on the branding front? I'd love to understand that. So ensuring that this relationship is intact and it's formidable, right? So irrespective of whoever comes in, even if they get into a predator pricing mode, that doesn't impact your client base.
Yeah. You see, one thing that is clear is that it is one of the basic utilities. Wire and broadband is one of the basic utilities in the household, like electricity. And tell me, when do you think of electricity? When is it that you actually think of electricity? It's only when electricity goes. There's no electricity. Then you start thinking, wow, what happened to electricity?
Right.
Same with the broadband. If your service is not good and it goes down, then that's when it starts hurting customer and they start looking for options.
Sure.
If you are committed to customer service, if your customer service is best in class, if you are caring for you have empathy for your customer and you really care for them, they don't even think, nobody thinks about it. I mean, for 50 rupees or 100 rupees, they're not going to change.
Sure.
We don't see that happening.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm taking 500 rupees. Somebody comes tomorrow and says, okay, I'll give you the same for 450 rupees.
Sure.
For 50 rupees, what does it mean in today's world, 50 rupees?
Right.
Hardly anything. It's not even a cup of coffee. It's like chai on a theli.
Right.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean much. As long as you can sustain your service, as long as you can provide world-class service, not for just saying it, but actually you can provide it to the customer. Customer doesn't think of leaving unless until there's a problem in the service. So therefore, empathy for customer is one of the bedrocks that we want to have in our organization. Empathy and real care for the customer and resolution time. For example, we have a campaign right now that if there is an issue in a customer service, we'll resolve in 4 hours or give a day free to the customer.
Wow.
I mean, 4-hour resolution or a day free. And if it takes 8 hours, another day free. Right. So for every 4 hours, we'll start giving another day. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it just shows the commitment. It just shows that we are ready to compensate for the customer, but we don't want him to sort of lose faith in us. And this is the message we want to send it across our organization to all the CX people, teams, across our partners, that the customer is paramount. Empathy for customer and trying to solve customer's problem, thinking from the perspective of customer is what is needed in today's world. And if you have this, nobody is going to leave you for 50 rupees, 60 or 70 rupees. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. A very interesting point that you highlighted, Vivek, right? And I completely agree. I think the problem with large organizations, while of course we continue to talk and understand these nuances, right? I think the problem with large organizations is the kind of cost structures that they have, right? So, for example, there are certain things that you can deal with more agility, and possibly have a system which is far more responsive, just so much more quicker, right? You'll have organizations. I mean, for them, the math is going to be very different, right? Unless that problem becomes so much more pertinent and so many other things, right? Many questions on that front, but I'm going to save up some of that for our next conversation, Vivek. I'm going to move into quickly talking about what are the next 2.5 years like, right? It's been an exciting ride, what we've seen in COVID. For you've doubled your client base. What are the next 2.5 years like? What's inside? What is it that you set for yourself from a target standpoint, milestones? Would love to understand.
Yeah, from Excitel perspective, we are going to touch around 1 million by the end of this year.
Interesting.
That's what we have sort of promised ourselves and our investors also. So we have no go but to do it. Yeah. So that is what we'll achieve for sure. And by the end of 2023, we want to double that and be at 2 million users. That's the target right now in our minds. 2 million users by the end of 2023. So yeah, and looking at the market right now, looking at how it's evolving, and looking at various cities that we are sort of opened, including Mumbai now, and we are doubling down Hyderabad and Bangalore. Mm-hmm. So I see this is quite doable, and we will end up doing that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Vivek, all journeys are very different. This is like the last section of that of the conversation, right? And I use it. I usually use it to bring out a message, right? And I think every founder's journey is very, very unique. He or she has the ability to motivate many more. And I think we are in a country which is honestly, with especially what has happened, right? Like you said, it's become a great leveler, right? Markets have become a great, with what has happened, right? And technology empowerment, right? It's an opportunity which is available to all, right? Depending on who puts his mind or her mind to solving for it, right? You've had a phenomenal journey. You're competing with some of the largest brands out there, right? That calls for a lot of gumption, right? A lot of deep diving on a lot of patience, right? If you were to give out a tip, if I can call it that, right? Suggestion, advice, what would that be? I'd love to end this conversation at that high point.
I think the first and foremost, try to understand the problem that you're solving. Unless until you're clear about the problem that you're solving, no business is going to be viable, no startup is going to function. Unless until there's a definite problem that you're solving. In our case, the problem was the 70% of Bharat, 70% of urban India where there's no connectivity, and we had a model to give fiber to home service in such areas. So I think start from there. And once you have set your eyes on a problem and you see that you have a business model or technology to fulfill that problem or to solve that problem, then don't look at your failures. Don't look at initial issues, because there will be many teething issues. There will be many detractors who will tell you that it's not going to happen. Forget it. I mean, just be your own man and be focused on your goal. Once the problem is clearly identified and you already have identified the business model and the technology to solve it, listen to no one other than yourself and move forward. Irrespective of the initial failures or hiccups you'll fail, which for sure you will fail. You will face. I mean, and dogged to a great extent you have to be if you want to succeed. Yeah.
Right.
So that's what it is.
Super. Vivek, all good things have to come to an end, and so does this conversation, right? But how I wished, I could have carried on, right? I mean, there are many nuances of building connectivity business, right? And like I said, right? I have a huge respect for founders who are playing in a zone which is just so much more, where the space, the expectations are very high, and the price elasticity is almost negligible, right? And to fight it out in an environment like that with those expectations, I think it's just so challenging, right? And I think with what has happened in the last, during COVID, right? With these expectations, I think we've been possibly the inhibitions that we had, in our markets, right? Or possibly discontinuity, because it was all fragmented. I think is just so much more, right? I think to be building a business like the one you are building, the way you're solving for these problems, right? I think is incredible. Possibly there are going to be many more case studies that are going to get registered, right? On this one. Vivek, it was a pleasure to have you with us. I look forward, like I said, many more questions, but I've reserved some of them for our next conversation, hopefully soon. It was a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much for doing this.
Same here, Ashu. My pleasure to be here. Thank you. Thank you.